Secondhand is the fastest growing sector of resale. The majority of your customers are already shopping your product secondhand currently, and you have no involvement in that. You don't have any oversight on what's being sold, who it's being sold to. You don't own the experience, the quality of the product, the pricing, or the relationship with the customer. Our biggest competitor right now is our own product being sold on Vinted.
You're listening to the Keep Optimizing podcast to increase your traffic, improve your conversion rates, and grow your profits.
Hello and welcome. I'm Chloe Thomas, the host of this marketing-focused podcast. If you're not familiar with our format, well, each month we usually focus on a different marketing method. And we usually, each week, interview a different expert to explore the latest advice on making that marketing method work for you. This month is pre-peak prepping, getting ready for the holiday season, so we're doing things a little bit differently, and I'll tell you a bit more about that in a second. First off, though, we love hearing from you guys. So when we get a nice mention on social, or we get mentioned in a blog of top podcasts or anything like that, then we like to give you a shout out. So big double thanks to Michele Masnaghetti from Epsilon, because he posted on LinkedIn, not once, but twice, about our recent offline marketing masterclass series. So huge thank you to you, Michele. Awesome to have you sharing about our content on the lovely LinkedIn platform. So I said this week we're doing it a bit differently. We're all about helping you get ready for peak. Normally that would be, such and such has changed something. You need to know about it. That's less of that this year, although there is, of course, the whole Google SEO updates, but that's coming up next time. So instead, we're being a bit more eclectic. So this episode and the previous episode, I've been shining a light on two areas which I think offer huge opportunity to brands to improve sales, potentially this Q4 if you can get the project done in time, but definitely going into 2025. Last time we looked into the potential opportunity and cost saving and happy customer creation of allowing people to edit their order after they've placed it. And in this episode, we are looking at one of the most booming sales growth areas of e-commerce right now, which is the second-hand market. How can you leverage that to improve your business? I've got a master of it on to tell us all about it. So we will be looking at what the different options are, what the opportunity is, what the potential pitfalls are. Can you put it in place for Q4? Is that possible? And she'll also be sharing more advice around sustainable retail and fashion retail in general. So I always love catching up with this guest, so I know you're going to love this episode. Do make sure you listen right to the end, because at the end, my guest will be sharing some quick-fire insider tips to help you even more. And I'll be sharing my take on it all and outlining a couple of other ways we can help you. Struggling to get your e-commerce business to the next level, especially with Black Friday around the corner? As the biggest shopping season of the year approaches, optimizing your online store can feel overwhelming. But don't stress. The Yoast SEO plugin for Shopify is here to simplify your SEO efforts during this busy period. Yoast takes the guesswork out of SEO, guiding you through best practices for optimal visibility. Get Yoast SEO for Shopify today. Visit keepopt.com/Yoast. Act now and save 10%. Use the code KEEP10AN, that's KEEP10ANN at checkout to get a 10% discount on your first year of Yoast SEO for Shopify. This is only available in September 2024, and you must select the annual package. Start optimizing today and make the most of Black Friday. Go to keepopt.com/Yoast and use the code KEEP10AN. In this episode, I'm chatting with expert Zoe Rowswell. Zoe is the co-founder of Tern Eco and has some amazing fashion e-commerce credentials. Zoe was Director of E-commerce for Urban Outfitters, Global Director of E-commerce and Omnichannel at Jimmy Choo, and she rose from assistant merchandiser to head of online trading during 14 years at Topshop. Hello, Zoe.
Hello, Chloe.
Every time I consider your work history, I think you must be exhausted. Such cool companies and such great roles. Very, very cool.
Oh, thank you. Exhausted is probably quite a good description of how I feel most days, but I have been very fortunate to work for some brilliant brands and in some brilliant teams over my career. So yes, some good names to have on the CV.
And I think most of those names no one would associate with the secondhand market. So how have you ended up working in secondhand products and secondhand fashion?
Good point. Although I think Urban Outfitters would probably point to the fact that of their vintagey thrift shops kind of past. But how we ended up here, or how I ended up here. So having spent most of my career working for fashion retailers, and over time, just, I think as all of us have done, becoming more aware of our own personal impact on the planet and the environment, but obviously very much aware of the industry's impact on the environment, not feeling massively great about the part I had to play in that, and thinking there must be ways to leverage skills and experience, but in a slightly more purposeful way. And myself and Kate, who's my co-founder at Tern, had worked together at Topshop. We spent 8 years running the digital team there together. We went our separate ways in 2016, 2017, but we're always talking about how we might work together and again, and what that might look like. And also discussing what we were seeing happening in the industry, what our customers were talking to us about, hearing them be more vocal around sustainability and more ethical business practices. And then seeing, the rise of secondhand online becoming more prevalent. And much like when we first started working in e-commerce and no one was doing that particularly well and it didn't feel like a great experience, secondhand online was back then when we were first talking about it in 2019 and still now to some degree not being done particularly well online. Feels like a secondhand experience, not that easy to discover what it is that you want if there's a specific item you're looking for. And originally that was kind of where our excitement started around how do we use our skills and experience of building great digital online customer experiences, but with a view to a more sustainable way of shopping and looking at secondhand online and what the opportunities would deliver there. And then, so we launched our own digital consultancy at the back end of 2019 to focus on sustainable retail. And that was really where our understanding of the circular economy and what that meant for retail grew, and all of the different circular models that retailers could adopt in order to become a more sustainable business long term. And through that, those contracts and those conversations with retailers is really kind of where the idea for Tern Eco was born. And so the last couple of years, we've focused both on helping brands and retailers on their sustainable retail journey, but also evolving Tern Eco as a software solution to help them with that.
I find it so fascinating that you've kind of like been, you have that huge amount of brand side experience. Then you ran the consultancy working with brands dealing with these challenges right now. And then you've created a solution. It's not like you're fresh out of uni and have gone, we're going to change the world. It's actually, we really understand our customers' challenges with this. So what's the opportunity for a brand, like you used to be global director of e-commerce or, director of e-commerce who's going, oh, I know we need to do more sustainability. Secondhand is clearly something, but it feels complicated. It feels difficult. Why should I be doing this? What's the opportunity in it?
Well, to that point, those comments are pretty familiar. But we also had exactly the same comments when e-commerce was first kind of evolving. And everyone said the same thing then. Oh, not sure about selling online. Is anyone going to do that? It's going to cannibalize sales from my retail stores. It sounds hard. It doesn't sound like it could be profitable. I'm just not sure. I'm going to wait and see what happens on this one. And obviously, look what happened to e-commerce. And yes, exactly the same sort of challenges and questions are being raised now about the shift to recommerce or more circular models. But actually where I get really excited is about the opportunity to grow and evolve your business for the future. And the way we kind of position secondhand in particular in conversation is the majority of your customers are already shopping your product secondhand currently. Secondhand is the fastest growing sector of resale. So the likelihood is they are buying your product secondhand, but somewhere else. And you have no involvement in that. You don't have any oversight on what's being sold, who it's being sold to. You don't own the experience, the quality of the product, the pricing, or the relationship with the customer. And actually, I cannot remember who said this, but there was an article I read a couple of weeks ago where one of the biggest UK retailers said, our biggest competitor right now is our own product being sold on Vinted. So it wasn't another high street retailer that you would position them as normally, or you would think. It was their own product being sold secondhand on Vinted.
That is mind-blowing. But it's also that thing about you can go, yes, our competitors are X, Y, and Z on the high street, but actually your competitors are where your customer's going, shall I buy that or that?
Yes.
And that bit of, actually, it's us. Yeah, so when you make it that clear, it's like, why aren't we letting our customers sell to each other under our control?
Well, I mean, I think this is interesting because obviously luxury has not welcomed the secondhand market, I think, from kind of the outset, I think it's fair to say. But for them, where brand equity and brand protection is so important, that's where owning the resale experience for your product, really comes into its own, right? Because you own the quality of it, you own the provenance, the pricing, and you can control that brand experience, whether that's the photography and the descriptions of the product. You can introduce a new customer to your brand that was potentially buying your product secondhand elsewhere because they can't afford to buy that product new, and they were potentially buying that from somewhere else already. So, luxury, there's a very obvious business case, but for the majority of businesses, I still think that there is huge opportunity for them to understand what their customers are currently doing and evolve and adapt to cater to those needs.
So that's the business opportunity. From a sustainability standpoint, is this something which brands are going to be forced to do sooner or later? Like we've seen in the electronics industry, there's the big legal requirements to have to deal with end of life. Is that something that's going to be increasingly important in the rest of the retail industry? So is there like there's a hammer coming at you, so you've got to sort it out as well as this business op?
Absolutely. There is tons of legislation that's incoming, lots of it driven by the EU. So if you're a business that wants to trade within the EU, it's definitely something that you need to be mindful of. In terms of the sustainability element, the legislation is definitely going to be the kind of final nail in the coffin, as it was, about, right, well, we have to do this. So like, what does our program look like? But the customers are already shifting there already. And so if you really want to grow your business, you should be listening to your customers, and you should be aware of what they're doing with their product currently, or your product currently, when they're done with it. Are they selling it secondhand? Are they just throwing it away? The sustainability angle comes in with really the question is, in a world where virgin raw materials are, we're running out of them, we need to make more of what we've already made. How, as a business, as a retailer, do you do that? And circular retail is a great way to do that. You can bring back products via take back. You're engaging your customer. You're giving them a responsible, sustainable way of getting rid of products when they no longer want, need, or use them. And then you've got products coming back into your business that you can recapture more value out of. Now, that could be in multiple guises. You could resell it. You can donate it. You can upcycle it. You can break the products down, then use the component parts and put them back into your supply chain, or use them as spares and repairs. There's lots of ways to extract more value out of the product than you're doing currently, which is make it, sell it, and then see you later.
Love the way you put that, Zoe. That's brilliant. So what are the different ways brands can go about that? Because it's not kind of a one size fits all solution, is it? I mean, there's what you guys are doing at Tern Eco. So can you explain that in kind of like the nuts and bolts for us, and then we'll look at some other options?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely not a one size fits all for different retailers. And actually within retailers that sell more than one product category, there might be different avenues that they want to explore for those different product categories. It's not even a one size fits all within one kind of retailer experience. What we're predominantly seeing in the marketplace at the moment is 3 different models. So you've got your marketplaces. So you've got things like your Thrift Plus or Back Market for electronics, spread up in the US, where the secondhand products are being aggregated within the marketplace. And brands are partnering with people like Thrift Plus, and they're telling their customers, if you've got product that you no longer need or want, here's a bag, send it back to Thrift Plus. They'll list it and you'll get a commission on the sale for it. So it's a nod to circularity. It's a way for customers to deal with product that they don't need or want anymore. But there's limited brand involvement and engagement and ownership over that experience. Then you've got a lot of peer-to-peer that's happening. So this is your eBays, your Vinted, your Depop's, where you've got one customer selling to another customer. And now what we're seeing is some brand peer-to-peer solutions. So got very excited when Zara launched pre-owned, but in essence, it's a peer-to-peer solution, but just under the Zara umbrella. You know, there are definitely a large percentage of people that are happy to be a seller. But if you read the statistics out there at the moment, around 60% of the UK population, and it's fairly similar for some of the other kind of US and European markets, 60% of the population have or are willing to buy products secondhand, but only 30% are willing to sell because of the hassle involved in photographing it, listing it, deciding what price you're going to put it at, haggling with people because they don't want to pay what you want. There's a hassle factor involved. So there's already a disconnect between supply and demand within that kind of peer-to-peer secondhand demand. And then the third sort of model that we're seeing, which is where we are focusing our efforts and where we truly believe is the biggest opportunity, is in brand-owned programs. So integrated within your business, where you own the customer, you own the experience, you own the revenue streams from start to finish. Now, that doesn't mean you might not have a third party that is helping you with the physical processing of the product, but the customer is coming to you to either trade their items in directly with you or to buy secondhand directly with you. So you are fully benefiting from all of the wonderful things that these programs can deliver against.
I love the fact you know, for the full buyback, sell it yourself in-house model, you make it so clear about the customer experience piece, because as you said earlier, like someone whose customers are trading on the peer-to-peer networks by themselves, that becomes your biggest competitor and you have no control over it at all. You don't know what's happening. You don't know if someone's saying fake of your goods, even if you're, you know, just mid-market, not even luxury. And then with the buyback side of things, if you're giving that to somebody else, again, you don't have that control within it. Even if the peer-to-peer is happening on your own website, I could see that you become, you know, your biggest customer service headache is your own customers selling your products. It's like, I totally get how the biggest opportunity is in going, let's keep our customers buying from us. Same checkout experience, same everything else, same boxes, same packaging. You know, they get this full experience that's us and we're in control of what happens with those products. And if someone returns something and it's in terrible condition, we'll find another way to process that. It's not going to go back on the virtual shop floor as it was.
No, exactly. Owning that experience, I think, truly is the unlock to making these programs profitable, successful, and you know, setting you up for a future where the legislation is probably going to make you deal with end of life of your products anyway.
So, Zoe, clearly doing the full-on system is the right way to go in the long term for brands. But is there a brand that's doing 100,000, 500,000 a year in sales? I can see the version where you were saying, you know, they send customers the bag so they can send it to a system that will process it and sell it, and the brand doesn't have any extra admin to do, but at least they're doing the right thing and getting a bit of cash back. I can see that working for the smaller brands. Is there a level at which it becomes more viable to go and build your own buyback system, or is it easy to put in place from day one?
Actually, I think, and what we've seen is that the SME retailers are more agile, innovative, and actually capable of running these programs directly themselves. Now, of course, their volumes are much smaller, so it's less secondhand product for them to deal with, but they can absolutely run these programs effectively and efficiently and still reap all of the benefits from that brand ownership. It's actually the slightly larger businesses where there's more people and decision making involved, where you need to think about the third parties that you might need to work with and how that might affect the profitability of these programs, where it becomes more of a question about what's the best operating model. But having said that, so we have worked with a number of brands and retailers. We often start with P&L. Okay, what do we know? What are we going to bring back? What are we going to resell? What does the pricing look like? And then what are the operating costs of actually processing that product? And does that add up? And we have demonstrated that even with a relatively low average selling price of like an original selling price of around £30, you can make it profitable at a unit level.
Got you. And the other thing I think, which has definitely been implicit in what you've been saying, but not necessarily explicit, is, and it occurred to me when you said about the SMBs taking it on, is you get all that extra data. You know, you find out which products customers use the most, which products they return, they send on a buyback scheme that are pretty much unworn 12 months later. So you get a whole load of extra data to organise the products you create at the beginning of the process, thus making the whole business more profitable anyway.
Yeah, I can't believe I haven't touched on data already. That's where I get really excited. That's my merch background coming into play. The data generated from these programs can be invaluable. As you said, not only do you get customer data, so we know when they bought it originally, we know how long they've had it, we then know what condition it's come back in. But you can also then look at the wear and tear of that product and the durability of that product out in the real world, which is something that you don't tend to see in the current models. Once it's out the door, it's out the door. And so that data and that insight, you know that switch always breaks off. You know that shoe always wears down in that corner. That's information you can feed back into your product design and manufacturing process to make more repairable, more durable products moving forward. So again, you can continue to extract the most value out of it, and it can go on to lead more lives. So that data, I get really excited about the product side of it. The customer data, obviously, life cycle data, how long they tend to keep things, how long they then engage with you. If they've traded something in, do they purchase more frequently from you because of the credit that you're offering or because of the good feeling that they've got about the programs and the problem you're solving for them? And then there's the CRM opportunities which come from it, which is, hey, Chloe, you bought those glasses 2 years ago. Do you still like the frames? Are you getting a bit tired of them? Did you know that you could get £100 credit if you traded them in with us and you wanted to upgrade to a new star? So there's lots of kind of ways that you can leverage that data to continue to build deeper engagements with your relationships with your existing customers and more engagement with the programs.
Yeah, the data's so sexy in this space. I'm not a merchandiser, I'm a marketer, but God, I could geek out on that data for a long time. So this episode is part of our kind of pre-peak, our pre-Q4 planning. Is it still feasible for a business to get a buyback scheme in place? Is it like a no-brainer to have it in place ready for January for post-Christmas returns? What's the timescales on this?
I think, we've set our software up so that, you can get your program up and running in a matter of days. You can start wherever you want to start from. You don't have to offer buyback on your entire catalogue. You can choose a particular product range or a particular customer category and start small, take the learnings from that and then grow and evolve. And that's possibly, the best place to start. I think lots of people get overwhelmed with, oh my God, if I'm going to launch this program, it needs to be all encompassing. I don't know how I'm going to deal with floods of product coming back in. And the reality is that you're not going to get floods of product from day one because but your customers aren't sitting there with a bag of your product waiting for you to launch this program and going hallelujah on the day that you do and sending it back. So, as you market it, as your customers become more aware and more familiar with the program, obviously the volumes will then increase. But you also have a tap that you can turn on and off or dial up and dial down in terms of how generous you are with the credit as well. So can I get this up and running pre-peak? Absolutely. Does it have to be my entire catalogue and to every single customer? No. Should you do it? Absolutely.
Love that. Thank you, Zoe. My mind's now running with how you could tie all this into Black Friday, but let's not even go there. That's a whole other discussion. So one last question before we head to the insider tips, which is, you mentioned that, the original move that you and Kate made was into helping retailers become more sustainable generally, the whole piece of sustainable retail. So is there, obviously, taking control of your secondhand market is a massive opportunity in sustainable retail at the moment. Is there one or two other areas that the audience should have on their radar at the moment?
Well, I mean, circular retail is not just buyback and resale. It is repairs, it's rental, it's refills, it's upcycling, it's reuse. And to the point that we were discussing earlier, there's not one size fits all for circular retail. And so, as a retailer, if I had my retailer's hat on, I would be looking at my product catalogue, looking at my customers and thinking about what they're doing with my product at the moment, if it needs repair or if they don't use it anymore, and what services and programs do they need? Where are they doing that currently, if they're doing it at all? And how do we build those into our business model so that we can drive a stickier, deeper engagement with those customers who have got these problems that they need help solving? So yeah, there's lots of different models. I mean, Adidas, John Lewis, Marks and Spencer's have all launched repairs trials this week. Rental services are growing in numbers. And there's lots of different ways to do it. I think it should always start with the customer. What is your customer doing with their product when there is a problem with it, or they don't need it or want it anymore? And how can you help them with that solution?
Always start with the customer. Right, Zoe, it's been great picking your brains about secondhand opportunities. Listeners, remember to stay tuned right to the end so you don't miss out on Zoe's insider tips on all of this and my suggestions for more free resources to help you improve things even further in your business. Struggling to get your e-commerce business to the next level, especially with Black Friday around the corner? As the biggest shopping season of the year approaches, optimizing your online store can feel overwhelming. But don't stress. The Yoast SEO plugin for Shopify is here to simplify your SEO efforts during this busy period. Yoast takes the guesswork out of SEO, guiding you through best practices for optimal visibility. Get Yoast SEO for Shopify today. Visit keepopt.com/Yoast. Act now and save 10%. Use the code KEEP10AN, that's KEEP10ANN at checkout to get a 10% discount on your first year of Yoast SEO for Shopify. This is only available in September 2024 and you must select the annual package. Start optimizing today and make the most of Black Friday. Go to keepopt.com/Yoast and use the code KEEP10AN. Okay, Zoe, so far we've gone deep into the secondhand market opportunity. Now you get to wow us with your insider knowledge about the whole of sustainable retail and retail. So for the following questions, your answer can be anything to do with any of that, which does, of course, include everything we've already been talking about. So Zoe, are you ready for these?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's start with newbie advice. If we've inspired someone to take their first step, what do they need to know to give themselves the best chance of success?
So, first of all, good choice, because retail, and especially digital retail, is a really exciting space to be in. I think I would just say be curious and always be open to learning opportunities, because digital retail especially is always adapting and evolving. I mean, a number of the jobs that are available today didn't even exist a few years back. So there's always new opportunities to grow, develop yourself and your career. And, that's really one of the things that I love about it so much. So just, be curious and be open.
Great advice. Okay, once you've started, of course, you've got to keep optimizing. So what's your favourite way to improve performance?
Actually, I would say continually question everything. Use the data to our point about data. But most importantly, and I cannot emphasize this enough, listen to your customer. What are they doing? Where are they? How are they doing it? What's driving their purchasing behaviors? And, how do you service them better? Because if you're not relevant and you don't offer value to your customer, whatever value means, and that doesn't necessarily mean price, but if you're not offering value to them, you might as well stop doing what you're doing.
Love that. If someone listening wants to learn more, is there one cheap or free resource you would recommend?
So I've got two suggestions on this. I would take a look at www.greenretail.world and sign up for their emails, because they cover everything in sustainable retail and are a brilliant resource to discover who's doing what and how. Alternatively, feel free to book a half an hour consultation with Kate, and I will happily talk all things circular retail with you as a kickoff. And we're also creating some great how-to content that's going to be available on our website pretty soon, so you can keep an eye out for that as well.
Awesome. And where do people go to book one of those half-hour consultations?
Come find us on www.tern.eco.
Simple as that, everybody. Okay, finally, it's crystal ball time. Dare we say, what's coming up in the next 6 to 12 months we should be getting ready for?
Well, obviously, I think the rise of take back and resale rental repair schemes is going to grow. But I'd actually personally be keeping an eye on the development of digital product passports. For those of you that don't know, there's new EU legislation recently passed that means every product that's sold within the EU is going to require a digital product passport, or a DPP, which is basically a digital twin, by 2030. Textile products are at the top of that list, but most physical products are going to need one. But they are going to unlock so much for you from a marketing point of view, from a customer journey point of view, and the customer will benefit from them as well, because they cover everything from, where the materials for that product were sourced, when it was manufactured, where it was sold, how to look after it, how it can be repaired, and then obviously how many lives it might have if it's been resold or repaired or reused in some way. So my advice would be keep an eye on it and start to get your house in order, because not only are you going to need to comply, but they will be really valuable to you as your business.
Kind of like the first impression when you hear about the digital product passports is to be like, oh no. But then the more you dig into it, the more it's like, oh, actually, there's a lot of opportunity around this, both for organising our stuff back of house, so we've actually got the right information in the right places, but also other opportunities. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how the forcing of us all having to adapt to that is going to change things.
Yeah, as I said, I think from the retailer and from the consumer side, there's huge benefits to these DPPs, and I'm excited to see kind of all of the ways that they are leveraged moving forward. I mean, they're definitely going to be brilliant for resale, because obviously the product information is contained in the DPP, so you've got a head start on resale relisting. You've got all of the information about fabric composition, wash care instructions, everything, where it came from and where it's going to. So yeah, it should be an interesting one.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling, but actually rather exciting. All right, Zoe, before I go off on one about that, we are nearly at the end of the show, so could you please let the listeners know where they can find you and your business?
Okay, well, I've already mentioned our website, so come find us there. Or you can find me, Zoe Rowswell, or Tern Eco on LinkedIn. And actually, we're running a quick survey on circular retail at the moment. So anyone listening that fancies taking part and helping us with our research, it takes 2 minutes. You can find it on LinkedIn, and we'd really appreciate your input.
Brilliant. So go and find either Zoe or Tern Eco on LinkedIn to take part in that survey. Zoe, as it always is, it's super fascinating getting to catch up with you. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing so much with our audience. We really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed the conversation.
Always excellent to catch up with Zoe. She has such a mine of information and has such great clarity on what is working, what isn't, and what you need to think about. So is Secondhand, taking control of that booming marketplace, something you should be doing this autumn? I can't help but think, but only giving Black Friday discounts to those who return a product could be a very cool way, or extra bonus Black Friday stuff for those who send you back on the buyback scheme could be a very cool way of kicking off such a campaign, or even of opening up your secondhand store for the first time. I don't know. There's got to be some kind of tie-in if you're looking to launch this in Q4. There's definitely some kind of tie-in. And then other ideas around sustainable retail there too. And then, of course, the whole digital product passport, which is mind-boggling, but the more you think about it, the cooler it there is. And I was just talking to Zoe off air there, and there's a lot of people working on sorting out that tech for you. So don't worry too much about the tech side of it, but the data side, start gathering the data now. That's all I'm going to say. Start gathering the data now. Yeah, just do that. All right, you can find links to all those things we discussed, the full transcript of the episode, important notes and more at keepoptimizing.com. You can also use our special direct episode short links. That's keepopt.com/the number of this episode, and that will take you straight to the correct page on the website. You'll also find that link wherever you're listening. If you scroll down through the notes, you will find that link in there. When you get to the website, please do add yourself to our email list so you catch all the other cool stuff we share to help you improve your business. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Keep Optimizing podcast. If you'd one day like to be one of our guests, then you can apply to become a guest at keepopt.com/guest. We will soon be starting to look for our 2025 guests. I know, creeping up, isn't it? So go and do that now if you want to come on the show. keepopt.com/guest. Right, if you've enjoyed this episode and you want to hear more of Zoe's great advice, then go and check out episode 435 of our sister show, eCommerce Master Plan, where you will hear even more great advice from Zoe. Just head to the eCommerce Master Plan website, find it on your favourite podcast player and look for the Zoe Rowswell episode. And she's talking about her fashion knowledge in that one. It's a great episode. You can also find all our pre-peak updates episodes by scrolling up your feed, where you will find our previous episode with Hamish, where we were looking at the amazing cost-saving and customer experience improvements available with post-order editing. Another thing you can get in place before peak to make everybody in your business and your customer base happier. Fascinating stuff. Please do tell your fellow marketers about this show, because we create it to help as many marketers as possible to improve the performance of their e-commerce marketing. So please do spread the word. Have a great week and make sure you listen to the next episode so I can help you to keep optimizing your marketing.
Access everything Keep Optimizing at keepoptimizing.com. That's with an S, not a Z.
Don't forget to get your 10% discount on Yoast SEO for Shopify. Visit keepopt.com/Yoast, select the annual plan, and use the code KEEP10ANN. That's KEEP10ANN.